Good evening. Good evening. We would like to adjourn the Board of Education closed session at 7 o'clock and reconvene the regular Board of Education at 7 o'clock. I'd like to open up our meeting tonight in honor of a special individual in the likes of Grandpa Ken Singleton. On Sunday, Mr. Singleton, the food service director, officially became a grandpa. Welcome, Amari, the star spoiler now, sir. Congratulations. May you take the kid home every night. That's what I hear from the grandparents. Mr. Gilliland. Okay, all are here this evening with the exception of Mr. Hammond, and of course Dr. Jackson's not here with us as well. The report on the closed session, we had some dialogue which we will conclude one of our objects before the end of the evening. And with that said, we're all going to be in unison singing the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can help me sing first tenor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that observation. So used to the kiddos being here. We're in our order of business. The board agenda discusses presentation items which could be include input and agendized matters may be moved upon. Dr. DeRossi, I know we got a few, if you don't mind articulating those.
Thank you, President Williams, members of the board. We will be pulling agenda items H1 regarding CUPCA and J5 regarding transportation. We will also be moving agenda items 12, 13, and 14. That's J12, 13, and 14, and J8. These are action items to regarding adjustment of salaries, and they will follow our action items from educational services.
So noted. I'd like to entertain approval of the minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting for June 27, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Yes, sir.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. The Board of Education would like to recognize the outstanding Monrovia Unified School District Food Service Department for their hard work and contributions. Dr. DeRossi and I assume that you're going to take this lead on our excellent people in the kitchen. Grandpa.
It's a privilege to do so. I'd like to say a few words before I hand it over to Ms. Wu. First, we had an extraordinary time at Monrovia Days, and the whole thing was kicked off on Saturday morning, at least the parade was, on Saturday morning with a reception for all the dignitaries, hosted by the Monrovia Unified School District and catered by our own catering team. And it was delightful to be there and to receive all of the compliments about what was presented and just really the quality of the food and preparation. So thank you, a heartfelt thank you to the team, and I'll pass it on to Ms. Wu.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Torrencia. We are so happy for outstanding job our food service department did. They not only did a great job for catering, but also for the regular operation to provide nutrition food for our students. And our food service department is the only few departments still self-support, which means that the revenue they generate able to cover their cost. So tonight I will invite the director of food service, Happy Grandpa Ken Singleton, to come here to introduce his team.
board, board members, Dr. Tarosian, fellow cabinet members, and fellow, these are Monrovia faculty and principals, and my food service team. Welcome our elite. Esmeralda, can you come to the podium? Oh. Alicia Escobar. Rosa Manriquez. Lourdes Martinez. Alex Palayo.
And I believe we have one for Ken Singleton.
That's right. Yes, I have the one for the Ken Singleton, and this is a certificate for our team. It says that Monrovia Unified School District Board of Education wish to recognize the Ken Singleton and his team individually, Food Service Department for contribution to the success of Monrovia Day Parade and the festival on May 18, 2018.
Thank you very much. Good job. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Maybe we can all move that way. Well,
I'll put all the guys in the back. Stay right where you are. Dr. Tarosian, you're going on the far right.
all right. So I'll stand on my toes.
I think we'll do with Mr. Wong. Here you go. All right.
Everybody has that question. What to do with Mr. Wong?
One, look over here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Before everybody sits down, however, would you help me in singing happy birthday to Miss Palayo? Thank you for spending your birthday with us.
Thank you.
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alex. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
Yes.
Clearly, all her wishes have already come true. She works with us.
That's good stuff. Mr. Singleton, I guess it's no secret that some of my favorite people are Miss Lourdes and Miss Escobar and Alex. And so I thought it was befitting. Miss Alex, happy 25th birthday. But I would like to concur with Dr. Tarosian said. I received a compliment from Assemblyman Holden at the Monrovia parade when you guys did such a wonderful garden kitchen. He was talking about, how y'all was splurging, and I'm just sitting there proud. I'm like, yeah, don't y'all do this? But thank you, sincerely, outstanding.
Thank you, sir.
We'll have a board report and hear from Mr. Gilliland, please.
I will second what President Williams said about the food. I had several comments from people that morning about how great the food was, so thank you. I just wanted to give a shout out to those folks that worked so hard to make our community theater successful again this summer. We had a great presentation of Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, such energy, such great talent, And I know a lot of people volunteer and help with that. Gives our students an opportunity to work with professionals, and it gives the community a really good opportunity to go see a performance with professional actresses and actors and musicians, and a great evening. So thanks to everyone that helped pull that off.
I concur. Great show. Public comments. The Board of Education encourages public participation and invites you to share your views on school business. Ms. Silk, do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda?
There are none.
Items on the agenda?
There are none.
Thank you for that. Moving forward to informational reports and presentations, Dr. DeRoche has already articulated the declaration, shall I say, of the California Uniform Public Construction. So with that said, Dr. DeRoche, I guess we're going to entertain Dr. Leslie Miller.
And as Dr. Miller comes up to the podium, let me just commend her and her entire team for looking thoughtfully at what an arts designation would mean for a school and how it would be incorporated within all the good work already done within Wild Rose Elementary School. So thank you, Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Therosian. Mr. Williams, Board of Education, Dr. Therosian, and Cabinet, and of course, our members of our community. I'd like to include in this presentation, it's not just me, but some of our outstanding teachers at Wild Rose are here with me, and they're going to be participating and helping and explain what Wild Rose's designated art plan will look like. And so I'd like to introduce Ms. Joanna Prather and Ms. Sharon Noggle as well. So tonight we have the opportunity to look at our designated art plan. And what does that mean? Well, what we want to work on is that our students will be challenged through the arts, and it's an integration into the core subject areas, including, of course, language arts, math, social studies, science, and physical education. We want our students to excel through creativity in classroom instruction and enrichment opportunities, so building both sides of the house. So you may ask, why focus on integration of the arts? We want students to learn in and through the arts and strengthen their academic experiences and growth and development as individuals. Wild Rose is a very unique school. For starters, 33% of Wild Rose's student body population is second language learners. That's the same percentage, as the district's total English language learner population. So it's pretty high and significant. 12% of our population receives special education services. So having these experiences for our children is extremely important. On top of that, a significant portion of our students receive free and reduced lunch, and being able to afford an opportunity to participate in visual performing arts, music, dance, or drama productions, sometimes outside the reach of our families. Many of the Wild Rose students, as you know, are bused into school, and so between 8 a.m. and 3 o'clock, that's when the optimal time for them to participate in these experiences as well as their academics instruction is critical. So that's what we're looking to do. We want to ensure that they feel a part of the school community, our students. There's a positive contribution to what it means to be part of a team and part of a grade level and part of the school environment. If we prepare our students to ensure creativity and competition, then our workforce is going to be dramatically different as our students develop. We also want that the arts program is a positive factor that really contributes to our increase in attendance as students are engaged. And we saw that bump in attendance this year. It was a small bump, but a significant bump of a little under 0.5% of our attendance. So we want to continue to ride the wave of moving students forward and invested in school. Our next part is meeting the needs of our community. If we look at the outcome, is our students reach the high school and have multiple opportunities in the arts, whether it's studio arts or part of the conservatory that is being developed. There has to be a pathway established. So we want to ensure that our students can access that pathway and be able to compete with students who may have had other opportunities inside of our city to be part of a dramatic production. We want to create a foundation for our students in arts education in all the arts domains. And we want them to be able to really express themselves through that exploration of the arts, where we're creating a pathway to both of our middle schools and our high schools and beyond. Through the arts, student achievement will increase. Research shows that as part of the regular visual arts lessons, students are able to access and visualize the curriculum. 90% of what we learn is through visual literacy. And by incorporating those strategies into our educational experience, we start to shift and change what we are able to recall and remember because we're invested in it. So a simple lesson, such as learning about mathematical concepts such as symmetry, or in the textbook about Native American art. Students are then able to access the curriculum because it comes alive as students learn about pottery and sculpting and the design work needed by the Native Americans to develop the artwork that went into the pottery or the sculptures. They become invested in it and want to research, which leads to writing, one of the areas that children struggle with. And that leads to being able to present what they've learned because they're joyous and excited about their learning, and it accompanies their project. When you integrate, you're creating a rich tapestry of learning. So Ms. Prather is going to talk about how in the last 2 years we've been working and what we've done and what the strategic model is going to look like for the next 5 years for Wild Rose.
So, together as a staff and faculty, we worked and created a 5-year strategic plan, how we are going to incorporate and integrate art with the Common Core. We first started looking at the building blocks and the domains. Because in order for us to teach it to our students, we have to become proficient in those standards as well. So we will do that through professional learning, team planning, integration into the classroom, and and we'll be able to showcase and celebrate what the students are learning.
So here is the domains that will encompass the next 4 years of work continuing. This first year we started with visual, and we're going to continue in year 2 visual. And so you see the outcomes of what the teachers have designated. The teachers work together in grade level teams to design the outcomes of what they want to build on for the next 5 years. So building on the visuals and the art standards, national standards, and the Common Core curriculum, these outcomes were developed. So this year is visual. Next year, the year after, will be dance. And so you'll see in 1920, we'll be working on dance. And much of it is integrated through physical education. The year after, in 2020, we'll be working on music, both vocal and instrumental. And then in 2021, our focus is drama. Now, this being said, we are starting the process for each of those arts this year. So though we want to showcase in the year given The outcome, all the domains are beginning this year, and we're starting to lay the fabric and the foundation of it. Last year we worked in earnest in drama, as you are well aware, and we had 2 productions. Again, we'll be having 2 productions. We will be having Aladdin in the fall, so I hope you're ready for a magic carpet ride. And we'll be looking to showcase our students and their talents through drama, as well as the other domains, art and dance and music. Ms. Nalko is going to lead us through the remainder of the presentation and walk us through the next part, one of the most exciting parts.
I'm very excited about Aladdin. I picked it, and we can't wait to come and perform some of it for you guys at a board meeting. So we've laid out a basic roadmap. It doesn't mean that if it's not on there, it's not going to happen. We still want to sing every year with everybody, but this is just to make sure that we hit our plans. So we've decided for this next year that our open house will be a combination of a Fiesta del Arte and be able to showcase our art and also have a regular open house. So, and maybe even have some local artists come and show their stuff too. And we were very brave to do 2 musical big productions this last year, and they were great successes, and actually they were able to bring in some money for us. So we would like to continue that, and as I said, Aladdin, and we think maybe Cinderella, but don't tell anyone yet, and for the spring. And then dance integration into PE, we did have 4th grade, did CDI, and we were very pleased with their participation in that. And so we would like to continue with a CDI, and then a Veterans Dance and Martin Luther King Jr. community assemblies to showcase more of our dancing and get the community involved and really be behind Wild Rose School so that we can, attract more families to come to our district and see what great things we have to offer them. And a winter and spring music and dance shows and grade level family assemblies and events. We will continue to do all of that. We have been doing that. And obviously our team involves everybody. It involves you, it involves our community, but this is our arts integration team who have gone above and beyond to make sure that we work together and see this vision through. And we're very pleased with our team. We've done great work so far, in my opinion. And so we would love to have all the money in the world to be able to do as much as we want to do, but part of that involves we have to do our own funding, a lot of that to be able to continue the great work we've done. So we have a wonderful PTA who's supporting us, and a great school board, and a great, just everybody really wants this to happen. So we've been able to see some money and plan for our future. So we use site and supplemental and concentrated grant funds. And we were able to do a school production. We did a night, we tried to do it, and it worked out beautifully. We had a Jungle Book, and we invited families to come and have a beautiful spaghetti dinner, and we were able to raise some money for our next play, which is Aladdin. And we have a partnership with our PTA, and they've been wonderful. They actually helped us a lot with that, with the Jungle Book, and also we did A Christmas Carol. And we are also seeking out grants and community business organizations to support the arts at Wild Rose, and we want to keep advertising our program and bringing more families in to watch our programs and also to share their wealth of expertise with us and our students. And so here are some partners. We would love to add more. So if you're watching at home and you want to come and help us, we would love to have you come and visit Wild Rose and see what great work we've been doing. So CDI, 24th Street Theater, Inner City Arts, the LA County Office of Education, Arcadia Community Church, LACMA, and Los Angeles County the Arts and the Teal team has been great. They've all been great. And then we like to market our programs and make sure that everybody else can be a part of our team. Yes.
Very nice, thank you, Sharon. I'm going to come up and lead this part because this is really our next step. It's really sending a very strong message out in the community about what Wild Rose has to offer, not just at our borders, but at our surrounding borders, and why our families should choose Wild Rose. So advertising through the mail and through our website, we want to make sure that we are creating this positive image. I know from, as a long-standing principal, legacy is important. And when parents go out and share word of mouth, we want them to share, my child was in the following productions. My child loves Wild Rose and here's why. That is, word of mouth is going to bring other families in. Because when parents talk positively about their school in glowing terms, then others want to listen and they think of the school as they consider where to put their kindergartner. We want them to consider us. We want to create opportunities for our prospective families to visit. And this is really key. With us doing 2 major productions a year, we want to open it up for our local preschools to come as a field trip site and be able to sit in and enjoy Aladdin, enjoy Cinderella, see students there. When children see others as their models come out and perform, they get an idea that they can do this too. And we want them to go home and say, Mommy, I got to see Wild Rose today. It's really cool that children there get to be actors. I want to be an actor too. And give parents that moment to consider coming to our school and finding out more. We want to also make sure, and we did this year, we were out at the holiday show and Monrovia Day Parade in big ways. And out on the stage, we had our dance team, we had singing, we had production. So we want to make sure that we are well represented in the community as well. And that's our presentation. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Miller?
Just a couple of comments. I so appreciate what you're doing, Dr. Miller, at the school. This board has unequivocally supported the arts for the last many years. When the budget cuts came in the early 2000s and it was so drastic, we were able to maintain an arts program and have built it back up since then. Only because we've got such great partners in this community.
Yes.
But we were able to do it and saw the importance of it. You mentioned the LA County Arts Commission on your. Some people say, what's the big deal with the arts? And of course, as you pointed out, research shows that including arts in our curriculum will and does help the students with their academic progress. But also, Mr. Garcia from our district office and myself were able to attend one of the LA County Arts Commission meetings to talk about integration of arts into our curriculums. And they put out a statistic from a study they had commissioned for employment in LA County. And that study showed over 30% of the jobs in LA County. Over 30% of this economy is tied to the arts one way or the other. Now we know we got Hollywood and all the big productions,
right?
But you start thinking about all the places, all the design centers, all the manufacturing centers that require artists to help with designs. And 30% of the economy of LA County is tied to the arts. So we truly are preparing students for the future
Absolutely.
when we include the arts in our curriculum. Thank you so much. I'm glad to see that last bullet point up there, that we're looking forward to Monrovia Days next year.
Yes.
And I hope you're working really closely with Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
As you showcase these things, there'll be times you say, hey, that's something we need to showcase in the park on Monrovia Days. So I'm looking forward to see what all you have out there.
We're looking
next
forward,
May.
absolutely, we're looking forward to coming back and we'll have 2 productions under our belt to showcase then, as well as coming, I hope the board would be open to having Wild Rose come again and do a production number for you to get what's your appetite for Aladdin, and then in the spring for our spring production. Our students and our families continue to talk about having that positive experience with the board here in the boardroom. Our parents were so humble and excited that their children had this opportunity. That's why we had so many families show up, because they were invested in this and they were excited to be asked to come that evening. So that touch point is so important in keeping our program from the small little flame to a brush fire.
And I hope they have that same pride in the fact that these paintings on our wall that we've decided to keep are all painted by 5th grade students.
Yes,
And
I know. I wonder if we're getting them back. But we're going to have outside murals coming to Wild Rose as well once our students return. We are aggressively going to be looking to add 3 this year. And so, again, for our community, we want them to see Wild Rose in terms of that investment, not only in curb appeal, but also in investment in their children's future.
Great.
Thank you.
I'm impressed with your five-year plan.
Yes.
Yeah, I was impressed with that.
Thank
and
you,
how
Mr.
your
Williams.
focus is. Would you please say hello to your PTA president?
Absolutely.
And
Mr. Beltran and our PTA board are invested. Our fun run this year produced a big win for our arts program, as did our Dining for Dinero nights. And that's because of our PTA's effort to talk to the community of the school, have parents support, and make the arts come alive.
Continue to encourage him to go out to those dads, uncles,
Absolutely.
and all those, because, you know, the women are going to show up, but we need the men.
Yes.
So
We
that's
need
just
everyone.
All right, Rob Rose.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Miller and her team? Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Thank you, everyone, for your time this evening.
Moving to item I, consent agendas. We have 16 routine items of business placed on the consent agenda, all going to be approved by one motion. May I entertain it, please?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Moving to our action items, educational services. Dr. Kaiser, please.
Good evening, Mr. Williams and Board. Tonight we have before you for your approval a recommendation to approve the National Honor Society membership. The National Honor Society is the nation's premier organization established to recognize outstanding high school students. More than just an honor roll, the NHS serves to recognize those students who have demonstrated excellence in the areas of scholarship, service, leadership, and character. These characteristics have been associated with membership in the organization since its beginning in 1921. The NHS, the National Association of Secondary School Principals, officially established the NHS in 1921.
Four main purposes have guided the chapter since the beginning. Number one, to create enthusiasm for scholarships. Number two, to stimulate a desire to render service. Number three, to promote leadership. And number four, to develop character in the students of secondary schools. Chapter membership not only recognizes students for their accomplishments, but challenges them to develop further through active involvement in school activities and community service. The budget implications are that the total cost of this program is $385, and it's to be paid from the general fund.
Questions or comments for Dr. Kaiser with regards to Honor Society?
So moved.
Second. Ms. Huff?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Dr. Kaiser?
Yes, we have before you tonight a request to approve students for early kindergarten admittance. There is a new code in the California Educational Code, section 4800B1, that now requires the governing board to make a determination that admittance to kindergarten is in the best interest of a child. The superintendent or designee shall make a recommendation, which I am doing so tonight, to have the board regarding whether a child should be granted early entry to kindergarten. Having taken an early kindergarten readiness assessment, the following students have been found ready for kindergarten on or after the student's 5th birthday. The first student scored in an acceptable range, and his date of birth is 10/8/13, and the second student also scored in an acceptable range to begin kindergarten, born in September 17, 2013. They are just shy of the date that would be the kindergarten entry date.
Questions or comments?
Trusting your testing and your review of this, I think we should go ahead and approve it, but two questions. One is, can I get a list of the students that we're approving here? And number two, is there an opportunity for more children to be tested and enter into the fall semester this year?
Yes, we have several different avenues of entrance into our school system at these early ages. These children are actually of the transitional kindergarten age, but their parents came asking for us to test them to see if they would be ready for kindergarten. We have tested several students and conference with the parents and talk about the best interest of the students. These are the two that arose in this last batch of students that arose as students that were truly ready to compete with their peers that are slightly older than they are. The students who did not show readiness during the assessment period, they enrolled in our transitional kindergarten classrooms.
So there's no more opportunity for anyone to request admittance?
No, that they can request admittance still. It's an ongoing process, and we bring in a kindergarten teacher or a specialist to sit with the student, and we take them through a pretty formal assessment.
That was my question. So parents that have a student they think is ready, but it's not going to quite meet the age requirement, can come into our district office, correct?
Request assessment, and we will assess their student in conference with the parent.
Great.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Ms. Huff?
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Adopted budget revision, Ms. Wu?
Actually, President Williams, I would like to submit a couple of agenda items prior to the budget.
Received.
Agenda item J12, action item J12. I'd like to move to approve an adjustment to the salary schedule of the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. The attached range is listed, and in this case, the salary would be paid 55.5% from general fund and 45.5% from categorical fund.
Dr. Tarosi, you want to entertain all three, since we've already adjusted? Forgive me, guys. Forgive me.
They will.
Discuss all three, that's what
We can discuss all three, of course. The second one, thank you, President Williams. The second that I would submit for approval is a salary schedule adjustment for the position of Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. This would be the same range and paid out of general funds. And the third is a salary schedule adjustment for the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. And the position would be set at range 55, step E, again paid out of general funds. And this would actually also be a title change for our current Chief Business Officer to become the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services.
Questions or comments regarding Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services?
Really quick, if we have a title change, does it need to go to the Personnel Commission?
It already has.
So is this a recommendation of the Personnel Commission?
Yes. It is also a recommendation of your superintendent.
Just making sure we're following the procedures that's outlined in our policy. That's all.
Questions or comments, Mr. Rich? So moved on J12.
Second. You want to do these in order, or you want to?
We should do them in order. Should do them in order. Ms. Huff?
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Entertain a motion for 13.
So moved.
Second. Ms. Huff?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Entertain a motion for 14.
So moved.
Second.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Item J15, Board Policy 9150, Student Board Members.
Actually, President Williams, I'd like to also ask Ms. Wu to address the Human Resources Agenda Item J8, which will follow this one, as Dr. Jackson isn't here.
I stand corrected. Give me a second, please. That's what she's entertaining. Yeah. As so stated by Dr. Tarosian, we're going to entertain at J8.
Ms. Wu?
Yes. Good evening, President William and the Board of Education, and Dr. Tarosian, Cabinet, and the staff. And the District Human Resource Department conduct a salary survey, the same method, the same comparison district, and the same 15-16 total compensation level for the classified manager position. On June 21st this year, the Personnel Commission reviewed the salary study for the classified manager position, and the result of the studies, the Personnel Commission determined that some positions should be reallocated on the salary schedule to enhance the district's ability to attract qualified candidates and to also retain qualified employees. It is recommended that in order to stay competitive and comparable with surrounding districts, and that the Board of Education reallocate the following position on the classified management salary schedules. The Director of Physical Service from range 33 to range 35 with associated salary adjustment to incumbent David Conway from the range 33 to step 6 to range 35 step 6 effective July 1st, 2018. Director of Maintenance, Operation and Transportation from range 32 to range 35 within associate salary adjustment to incumbent Larry Cross from the range 32 step 6 to range 35 step 6 effective September 1st, 2018, which means after Mr. Cross passes probation. Director of Food Service from range 29 to range 31 with associate salary adjustment to incumbent Mr. Ken Singleton from range 39 step 6 to range 31 step 6 effective July 1st, 2018. Director of Procurement of Municipal Support Service from Range 26 to Range 31 with associate salary adjustment to incumbent Nelson Santo from Range 26 Step 6 to Range 31 Step 6 effective July 1st, 2018. In regarding of Director of Procurement and Business Service Department, on the same Personnel Commission meetings, the Personnel Commission approved the justified job description because we including more responsibility for the Director of Procurement and Business Support, especially support for the custodian. Because as you know that during the summer, the school is off and the campus, the principal is have a different working schedule. So they are needed to supervision for 12 months custodian to do the summer deep cleaning. So that job description will be added on the Director of Procurement and Business Support, which is currently Mr. Nelson Santos holds that positions.
Questions or comments for the classified management study, salary study?
Wasn't the reason we pulled this from the last agenda, from the last meeting, because we had names attached to them instead of just positions?
I do believe that could be in a typo.
Because we didn't have the position, we just had the name.
Just type, yeah. There were names before.
Now we have the Personnel Commission recommending the position be changed and just saying who's in it.
Which was the case last time. We had the actual names instead of the position itself.
It's a technicality, but.
Motion's on the floor?
I make the motion.
Second. Ms. Huff?
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Moving back to item J4, the agreement for transportation services, A&D, Transportation LP. Do I stand corrected, Dr. Rose? Oh, forgive me. Forgive me, I got notes all over this place. Ms. Wu, I stand corrected, revised adopted budget.
Good evening, board. I prepared two simple slides for the budget revision and just recapture reorganized data in the board agenda cover sheets as well as the backup information. The education code required the district revise the district adult budget after the governor signed the state budget. After the governor signed the state 18-19 state budget, and the assumption has been changed, which is the assumption the district used to submit for board approval in June 27 for 18-19 adult budget has been changed. So the first slide, I did a comparison for the June and the now. So basically, in the state adult budget, the state increased the LCFL quota from 3% to 3.7%. This will generate additional over $300,000 revenue in 18-19 district LCFF funding. And this quota increase is ongoing. So therefore, the 19-20, 20-21, if the projected the enrollment is stable, then district will expect to receive over $320,000 each year in the next 3 years. For the lottery money, the per ADA, the funding allocations also increased, and as a result, the next year we will, this year actually 18-19 school year, we will receive $27,000 more. And this is, since this is ongoing, so which means that in the next 3 years, the district can anticipate with a stable ADA, we will receive $20,000 more each year. Unfortunately, there's a balance. The governor gave us the quota increase, but he actually decreased one-time discretionary funding. So the one-time discretionary, actually the funding from the ADA decreased from $344 per ADA to 184 per ADA. As a result, we are anticipate adjust down our budget around $846,000. Because this is one time only, it is only impact this year. So the ADA, the 17-18, after we close the year and we able to recruit the Saturday school, so we will gain one more ADA, so they will generate additional $26,000. Actually, based on the funding, because we were able to use the high year of the last current year, so the impact funding will be last year also and this year too. And then also the lottery money last year's also changed, so that will be generated $38,000. That is only 1 year, and the ongoing we will separate listed in the second rows. For expenditure, when we proposed the board for approval in June 26, and the same board meeting, the board approved the settlement. So in the proposed budget, we did not post as expenditure because the pending for board approval. So we set aside in the ending fund balance. Since board approval, we reclassify to the expenditure. So there's no there may be small adjustment because of the people leave coming. So but majorly there's no major impact for the expenditure. So this is the snapshot for the multi-year projection.
Sorry, could you go back to the last one? On the 1, 2, 3, fourth item.
Yeah.
17, 18, ADA.
Yeah.
The difference between the adopted and the revised is about $1. Yet the total change is $26,000.
No, it is ADA. The change is the adult budget, and the budget revision is ADA. Okay, so the ADA is over 1 ADA, 1.3 ADA. Yeah. But we will double check that. David, right? Yeah.
It says Brad mentioned a 26,536 as a conclusion from the 5290, 5291.37.
No, it's a ADA.
Is that where you are, Brad?
No, that's what I'm looking at. But I mean, I understand it's ADA, so your ADA is referring to the population.
That's correct.
Okay, you have $1 change from the adopted to the revised. We don't have 26,000 students.
No, that's not a dollar.
That's not $1.
That's not $1. It's not $1.
It's the average daily attendance of the enrolled students, and the average daily attendance is 5,209. That's not a dollar figure.
Yeah.
We have one more student, so that's an extra 26,000.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's easy to, because the ADA is the rolling above row below the all ADA, but that line is no ADA. Yeah. Okay.
Students.
Yeah, it's not the 80. It's not the $1. It's 80. So this one is the snapshot. The reason I list the detail is only for board that capture the last 2 rows, and the revision and adoption. So which means that after we revise this budget, the 3 years end of 2021, we will the unassigned unappropriate the balances increased from 69,941, which is the this 2 row. And after the revision, the unassigned unadopt is 275,692. This is as a result of the quota increase is ongoing, and the net of the one-time money changes in the 18-19. So when you compare with 17-18, and we will increase the unassigned upon because we have the AD increase, we have the lottery increase, so that's net. And in 18-19, you will see that the decrease is not, instead of $800,000 because of the one-time money, is actually almost half. That is the net of the one-time money decrease versus is the quota increase versus is in the lottery increase. So that's the net result. and as well as the 19 and 20 is a net is versus the lottery increase, quota increase, and the other adjustment.
Ms. Wu, that's with the assumption that that decrease in the one-time discretionary funding is only 1 year.
That's correct.
It will most likely happen the next 2.
So you're right, because as Mr. Rich, you know that the governor, this governor, I don't know who is the next new governor. This governor has the intention, instead of providing ongoing money every year in the last couple of years, every year he provided one-time money. So one-time money, you're right, is theoretically is no longer, is ongoing, become ongoing one-time money.
It'll become ongoing takeaway money.
You're right. Yeah. So any question from the board? So next step is once we close the board in the middle of August, and in September we will present the board the unaudited actual, and then after that in December is our regular first interim report for the 18-19. So we will keep board in person is any major changes, the policy and the rule regulations, and any impact our bottom line.
Adopted budget revision on the floor.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Ms. Huff.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Ms. Wu, the agreement for the transportation services.
Yes, board, the business service department requests the board to approve the transportation service with A and D transportation LP, and the board's approval allow the district to use this company as needed basis for the field trips and after school activity in case there's a conflict schedule for district transportation department and we were not able to provide the transportation in-house. And the company provide the insurance to the district as well as the certified that the company's all bus drivers has been screened by the State Department of Justice.
Questions or comment from Ms. Wu?
So this is just another backup plan?
That's correct.
How many different backup bus plans do we have at this point?
Yeah, so in the June 27th, the board approved 4. And tonight we request the board approve 1.
Okay, is there a reason we need 5 different backups? I mean, is it that, or is one of these groups not able to handle a worst case scenario? Is that why we're having so many of these? What's the purpose for this?
There's a couple of reasons. One is we have more options because sometimes for whatever reason we receive a lot of last minutes. So a lot of the company have the scheduled transportation. So the more company we have will give us more flexibility to accommodate the last minute request. In addition, the more company we have, we were able to compare the different price because each company charge different. So we were able to find a lowest price company we can work with or starting with. That's just more flexibility options.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from Ms. Wu?
Yes, I do, because it just dawned on me, we're approving the agreement, but we're not approving a dollar amount. What are the limits on the dollar amount that we can get from any one of these companies?
So this is a good question because the proof agreement the purpose of proof agreement is as needed. So the board approval gave district option to use them, and we try to use in-house as much as we can. The only way we have this agreement set aside is for flexibility, just in accommodate the last minute's need, because the dollar amount is depend on use. Because they charge the distance, they charge the hours, so it's all depend on what kind of field trip we use them. But at this moment, it's difficult for me to tell the board what kind of need the school are. So as soon as I have some information, I can put in my weekly update, tell the board, this is the schedule for this company and the anticipated cost, because when the board approve agreement, we don't have that information, so I can give the information when we know what kind of feature we use which company.
So basically, if the board approves this, we give you a blank check to use them as much as you want.
No, because we have internal control.
Yeah, but the board is giving you blank. Unless there's some dire reason to have this tonight, could we have it back next board meeting with some maximum dollar limits on it and also a spreadsheet that shows us how much was used for the different transportation companies last school year?
Sure, I can do that. I can estimate. We can do the estimate.
I would feel more comfortable
Sure.
that the board has exercised proper oversight by looking at what we have been spending and having some top end amount that we're going to spend on transportation.
We can do some estimate.
And it says that the rate sheets are attached, but they're not. So I'm assuming you have rate sheets for all
Yes,
the
I do.
approved vendors. But I think Mr. Gillen's point is on, even if we were to set a dollar amount based on previous years on a normal basis. So I have to assume, especially since the state of our buses have been pretty iffy recently, that on an ongoing basis per year we've had X number of hours or dollar amounts we've needed from outside vendors to make up our shortfall, whether it was we had too many trips scheduled or we had broken vehicles or whatever. But we would like to have a dollar amount that we know that we're going to be okay up to, and once we exceed that number, then we really want to have a little bit better oversight to know what's going on. So historically we're spending arbitrary number, $10,000 a year in backup bus services, and we think that's an appropriate number based on experience, then that's fine. And we should have a policy to say you're good up to whatever this number is that the board agrees upon. But once we hit that number, that threshold, this issue needs to come back to the board because we need to have a better understanding of why we're going over whatever that number is. Is that?
That's my point, right. And I would move that we table this until.
Yeah, we do.
Just as a point of clarification, are we talking about transportation as it relates to also field trips sponsored by the PTA? I mean, non-general fund kinds of uses of the bus? Anything. Total cost of everything that we have done.
Anytime that we need to contract outside services to take care of the district's needs, for whatever the reason may be, we should have a general idea over the years what that number averages, because I'm sure it's somewhat constant. And if it's not, then we should be able to have a number proposed to us with some sort of a justification as to why that number is being picked. And then the board.
Well, yeah, and I would like to be able to see that we're evenly distributing this among the different bus companies that we're.
Yeah, and if you can have just even.
Okay, well, next time we can discuss why not, but okay.
Yeah, do you understand this, that we want to table this based on numbers moving forward?
Well, I'm okay approving them as just an approved vendor, but I'm with Ed in saying before we start hiring them out, and I think this is probably a good time of the year since I'm sure we don't really have need for bus service in the next week or two, to say we need to have a big picture dollar amount, because this is, if I understand this correctly, this isn't that we're going to use them for any specific project or program at this point in time. This is just to put them on our approved list, for lack of a better term. That if we had to call them, that they would be an approved vendor and we can move forward. Is that a fair?
Yeah, that's correct. The board, I just want to recall that last year we had a scheduled field trip, and one of our local transportation company canceled us last minute. The company filed bankruptcy, and now put our kids and family in a very awkward position because we cannot not transfer. And finally, we were able to make it in-house because we changed our internal schedule. So that's why the lesson learned from that incident, we try to prepare the in-house backup, have the agreement on hand so that when there are some changes, we have some flexibility. But we definitely can provide board information, and it is our goal because the board approved purchase new buses. So it is our goal to take all of this in-house. But the only thing is sometimes things happen, and we have a daily transportation schedule. Those companies only as a backup. We will not really use them on the first purpose. We will use them as a backup, just in case our transportation department cannot handle.
Based on those comments alone, and I do remember that experience of that last minute cancellation, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't entertain a motion to move forward and have this approved with the comments that both you guys made to follow up.
I'm okay with that only because this isn't for the actual use of the bus. This is just to put them on the approved list. As long as that's the understanding that we're not using them or hiring them for anything at this point in time, other than to have it approved, I'm fine. But I would expect that we're going to get the documentation on a cap of outside vendors shortly.
Well, I would think this item and the next item, it's to be on the approved vendor list solely. That's what we're asking to approve.
Yeah.
Next item would be full.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I didn't have that note. But I would expect that we would get a cost schedule before we hired them to do any work.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, I have it. I keep it in my binder for each company, and I just don't want to bother putting the board update because I'm not quite sure. Because some of the company, a private company, they want to see their fee schedule posted on the website. So, but I definitely can have a copy of each company and put in my board update. I can definitely provide information to the board members.
And the rates.
Yeah, that's correct. Every detailed information. Yes. Yeah, they already submit the rate schedule. Each of the transport company providing the rate schedule. That's one of the requirements.
That's different than a cap on what we've spent in the past, but at least it gives us an idea of what they charge per trip.
Sure, you know, and I think the advantage of this is since this isn't scheduled and this is kind of an emergency backup, of the 5 vendors we might have, perhaps only one vendor actually has free equipment on the particular day and time that we need. And I think we would put ourselves in a bind if we had to start finding new companies and screening them with less than 24 hours. Yeah. We have enough last second problems as it is, so I don't have problems building
I'm all for doing these. I just want to make sure that we've got some controls on that. I mean, and particularly in light of the investment we're making in our own fleet.
Hopefully we're going to be on the list.
You know, if you want to do this tonight, I would suggest that we put it on our pending items that every summer we do a review of the total transportation costs in-house and.
Yeah, we'll do.
So Kathy, we're going to put this on our pending issues.
I think Ms. Huff is making notes.
Okay.
In that case, move to approve.
Second.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Ms. Wu did ask us to pull item 5, the agreement for transportation services. And so we'll move forward to approval of lease services for the district-wide copiering, Ms. Huff. Ms. Wu, forgive me.
Yes, Board, our current lease agreement for the 20 copy machine expired in 16-17 school year for 5 years. And we were able to extend additional year, which is last year, 17-18. Now it is time to get a good new lease. The good news is the new lease actually will be less expensive compared with current lease, and we have new copy machines. So the new lease, we will have agreement with the shop equipment and the monthly lease will be $1,155 less compared with the old lease, and it will save us almost $70,000 for the 5-year lease. And there's also the last page is also the amendment of the rent lease agreement. When the company submitted us the lease agreement, is standardized the agreement, and certain term or the rule regulation not apply for us. So they were able to amend, make sure that this lease was more user friendly to the district.
If we have a lease already on this equipment, why is this not on our consent agenda?
Because this lease is with a new company. The current lease is with the different company, and with the respect board to get approved for new vendors and the new procedure. That's what we're doing. If the board think that the procedure need to be adjusted, we will happy to do that.
So this is I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying if we're changing leases to get a better deal on the same equipment, on office equipment, even though maybe a different company, I don't really see a reason why this can't go on our
complete
consent.
swap out of equipment.
Yeah, this is the new equipment, new companies.
It's a
new lease.
swap. You know, I would like to ask the board if we can give direction to put items in which we're doing straight swaps, even though it may be a different company in which there's no material change in price, up or down, to put these on consent agenda versus putting them on the active board agenda.
I agree with Mr. Wong, except I would say, as long as it's below the $10,000 threshold for board approval of additional costs.
Exactly.
That it go on consent.
Yeah.
If it's more than $10,000 more expensive than the previous contract or purchase order, then maybe we should take action. But
right.
If it's within that threshold, let's just put them on consent from now on. I do have one question on this agreement, though, is it doesn't have a date on it. So what's the effective date of this?
I think the date should be after board approval. It's starting tomorrow.
Additional questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. But shouldn't it start when their equipment's delivered? You said we're swapping out equipment.
Yeah.
Shouldn't the lease agreement start when their equipment's in service at the site?
So, and here's my understanding. The agreement, normally the agreement take effective when the board assign, and it take time. We change the equipment. The district will not pay them until the district starting use equipment.
And then it should be good for 5 years from that date, not 5 years from this date. That would be what I would think.
Yeah, practically yes.
On the other hand, a company might suggest that why would we bring you our items? And if some agreement has
I buy
to be
things
made.
all the time that I have an agreement that they're going to deliver 30 days from now.
Yeah.
As long as the agreement's signed by both parties effective September 1st or whatever date is going to be the effective date, I would.
But if the effective date is tomorrow, then we're paying tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
so what it is saying is we don't want an effective date until we actually have use of the equipment. The problem is that on some equipment, it's not a 30-day delivery, especially if they ask the custom make it or ship it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If it's stuck on a boat coming over from China at this point in time, it may take us 6 months before we get it, and I really don't want to pay for things for 6 months and have no use for it.
Why don't we provide you, I'm hoping that this is approved, but we would provide you the details of that
I don't have a
agreement.
problem approving it with under the stipulation that the start date is when we have the use and the, or let me
Or
rephrase,
the end
the
date.
billing starts.
That That would be my point, that the
It's the
end
end
date
date.
be 5 years from the day we take delivery.
Perfect.
Because we don't want to pay a higher rate for 2 months, 5 years from now.
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Well, the contract says the commencement date will be defined by the vendor. That's in the contract, in paragraph 1, agreement, delivery, and acceptance.
So that's okay,
we have to
because,
change that.
we just ask them to change it.
We have to change it.
If they want a check from us, then they can change it.
The first rental payment is due on or before the commencement date.
That's fine.
Yeah, this can be
So
changed.
we have to designate the commencement date, not them.
Yeah, yeah.
And does this new fleet require training because they're different operating systems?
Yeah, they will provide the trainings, definitely. Thank you for reminding us.
Would someone entertain this motion for clarity?
With those designated changes, I move that we accept this.
I'll second that.
Ms. Huff?
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Ms. Wu, Bright Oaks fence at the east side of the campus?
Yes, I would like to invite Mr. Cross, the Director of MOT, to present the plan for the Mayflower fence at the east side.
Red Oaks fence?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, the Brad
Oh,
Oaks.
Mayflower? Okay, I'm serious. It's the Bright Oaks, not Mayflower. Mayflower already has a fence.
Good evening.
Don't want to.
This is a canyon barbecue. Mr. Larry, please.
Thank you. So what we're looking at, a few months ago we had, after one of the unfortunate incidents that happened at one of the schools, one of the shootings, we had a concern from parents at Bright Oaks, which prompted a meeting with the PTA and parents and any concerned citizen that wanted to be there. And one of the things that they talked about was fencing, of course, and fencing along the east side. That was their main concern. And so we took that into heart, and we got some estimates of kind of what it would cost, and we've been talking about this. But at that meeting, I noticed there used to be a stand of trees along that wall. I don't know if I have a photo of that. Right there in that lawn area, there used to be a stand of 6 large eucalyptus trees. Two of them were dead and the other 4 were diseased. So I had to pull them out before they fell. One of them was leaning actually towards the auditorium, so I had to remove them all. After I removed them all, as you can see, it really left the side of the school. Now it's very open and vulnerable. At least the trees kind of provided some kind of a sense of security and some shading and shielding. Now that's gone. So we felt that it really does need a fence now. And I also witnessed myself, second graders coming out of those classrooms, and they go and they play on the lawn, and they go over to read a book, and then they go to the bathroom. So, and there's no supervision out there. So it is an issue. So I got an estimate of different types of fencing. One to match there's already white wrought iron fencing that's there, that's welded in, and then Mayflower's fencing, which is a cheaper. It's an ornamental picket fence. It's a prefab panel fence system. I prefer the white wrought iron. This is what the wrought iron would look like. It has Bright Oaks has a 7-foot fence because that's what's existing. It has the top rail and the bottom rail, and it's going to be welded in between all the existing blue posts. And it makes it integrated, and it looks like it's always been there, as opposed to the black picket fence. I guess that's all the pictures I get. You can see the blue poles. We're going to weld it in there. The black picket fence would be in the lawn because it's a panelized system. It's it's a prefab. And so that's what it would look like. We tried to do some artistic work here to show you what it would look like, but that's what it looked like with the white fence. And the other reason for the 7-foot fence, besides the fact that's what's existing, as you can see, the roof line is very high. It's 12 feet. So if you put a little 6-foot fence in there, it's not going to look right. Can't really tell here, but on the double gate, that's a 6-foot. You can see there's a big space. It's way below the sign, so it's literally right here. So we propose and ask the board to approve installing the white wrought iron fence at Red Oaks. We're not doing the front, we're just doing the east side.
So what's the difference in cost between the white wrought iron and the black?
Well,
Steel.
we got an estimate of approximately $32,000 to do wrought iron. This has not been competitively bid. We had prepared the bid and we actually published it and then withdrew it because we thought we needed to bring it to the board for opinion on what they thought we needed. The fencing at Mayflower, I think, was $23,000. So right now it's $10,000 more for the 7-foot custom-made welded-in fence, but that may go down because we haven't competitively bid it yet.
So the fence at Mayflower was 23 for that whole side, and this is the same length of fence, or?
No, I think Mayflower was it 400 feet? About 400 feet.
How much fence is this?
This is almost 200 linear feet.
So it's half as much.
Yeah, and then we
so
have
that much fence would be 10,000.
Yeah, it's totally different material though.
Well, I don't disagree with that. That's why a week ago I asked for a cost estimate on the same kind of fence we had at Mayflower. I still have. You still haven't given me a cost estimate for the same type of fence we have at Mayflower. Which my other question was: have there been any problems with the fence at Mayflower that would tell us, no, we need to spend the extra $15,000?
No, as far as I know, there has not been any problems with the Mayflower fence.
Okay.
The only reason for the additional cost is purely aesthetic to match the existing wrought iron fence that's already there.
Okay.
Can we paint the existing fence since it's actually a very small amount black?
It's not the color, it's the style. At 7 feet, it has the top and bottom rail. This picture here isn't exactly what we would be getting. You can see the pickets on the bottom. At Mayflower, it has the pickets on the top. Whereas this fence will have a railing on the bottom and a railing on the top to match it. It's a much heavier duty fence and it'll look just like it's always been there. Whereas the picket fence will look added. And on top of that, we have to, here this is going to be all welded in. If we add the picket fence, we're going to have to put it in the lawn because you can't really weld that stuff. It's just a panelized, bolts together.
How, Mr. Wong, was it because you preferred black? Because if you do, we can go out for a bid with, I mean, the will of the board is white or black. Well, I think what Mr. Cross just responded with was the cost would be the same, white or black, right?
Yeah, the way I wrote the scope is finished in primer, no color, and then we can determine the color after that. We're going to paint it in-house. It's just installed, primer, paint ready.
Mr. Cross, you said this would be for the east side of the campus, obviously, to limit access to the campus. And you said we're not doing anything on the north side. I can't remember. Is there a fence on the north side at all right now?
No.
Why would we not consider, because we're trying to limit access and make it a little bit more secure, why would we not consider doing the north side at the same time?
This was kind of a happy medium. There was kind of a 50-50 split. Some parents insisted that we...
And the board hadn't necessarily discussed having any enclosing the campus entirely. This was something that was discussed during a study session briefly, and access to the campus became a little greater with the trees.
Well,
with the
access
removal of the
to
trees.
the campus off of Royal Oaks is
Right.
pretty easy too.
Right. You know, I'd like to piggyback what Mr. Rich said. You were in that meeting with those parents that Dr. Rosen said had some outbursts with regards to safety. you were getting ready to conclude your comments. When you said 50% wanted that fence that Mr. Rich was talking about on the north side?
About half of the people there don't want a fence at all. And the other half want the campus totally fenced in. So we felt, and we talked about splitting it, putting the fence on one side, and that seemed to get a warmer reception than anything, because right now kids can run out into the street because they can just run out of the classroom onto the street, whereas the front of the campus, they have to run past the office. So there's less of an access, plus there's the bus turnout, which
That's
kind of
not
shields
much of
them.
a limiting factor, but what's the rationale for 50% not wanting any fencing on that side?
It was mostly from people that have lived in Monrovia for years, neighbors.
Neighbors who have to look at it.
They don't want to look at it. They think we're putting up chain link fence. They don't want it to look like a prison. And the reason they think that is because you get farther down that side, it is chain link.
This is just one of the schools that has a very different look to it. And it is a very open campus. When you walk up to it, it's designed to be open and looks open. So everything funnels in through the front on two little walkways to go in. And it is, only because the trees are gone, is it really kind of noticeable where it's at. With that one side being really exposed. But, whether to have a fence or not has been a question for at least 14, 15 years since my kids started kindergarten there. And the overwhelming feeling of the parents has always been to keep it open, because that is the character of this particular school. Whether that takes into account current events or not, couldn't really say. But I would venture to guess that far larger portion of the parents are concerned of a bear walking onto campus than a armed person.
I get that. And Mayflower was the same way. Mayflower was a very open campus in a very close neighborhood.
But it was always closed. I mean, at Mayflower, there's really only one entrance point.
No, you could walk between all the buildings straight off of Mayflower.
And that's where we put the fences.
I know. So, taking me back to my point here, if we're talking about limiting access,
right,
controlling access, and making it a little bit safer, why would we not consider a perimeter around a fence around the entire perimeter, regardless of what someone may think it looks like or is going to look like? If we're trying to make it safer for students to run out into the street, for someone to run onto a campus, for an angry parent to just barge onto the campus, why would we not consider the north side to complete the perimeter?
Well, I guess that's the real question, right?
Exactly.
Why are we putting the fence in to start with?
Exactly.
I support the fence on the side because there's only a couple of classrooms that have eyes on that side. To me, this is absolutely no different than Mayflower. And if we're going to put a fence across the front of Red Oaks, we need to put the fence across the front of Mayflower. Every time we had public meetings, safety experts, safety studies, the chief of police put his name behind the fact that these are safe campuses. We don't need to fence them for safety. In fact, there's a lot of thinking that if you fence these campuses in and there's an active shooter, you've got way bigger problems than if you have an open campus where kids can get out of the way. Now they all have to come through a gate. Now the gate's the target zone. There was so much feeling that there was no need to fence that entrance that we have a lot of eyes on at Mayflower. I see absolutely no difference. Well, there's a little bit of difference, but by the same philosophy, I think we leave the front side of this open. If we want to address closing in the front of this one, we need to address closing in the front of Mayflower, and we need to get both PTAs, the chief of police, and some security people involved to say that is the right thing to do. But fencing in this side, to me, it's really unsupervised on this side. I think it's a really
that's impartial.
good need.
I don't disagree with all of those your statements and all of those studies, and I don't disagree with those. The question I asked, and you partially answered it here, why are we considering just one side and not the whole perimeter? That's the simple question.
Fair question. Why are we doing it?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely.
And then no one's answered that question yet. Why only half?
Kathy's about to answer that question.
But what Kathy is going to propose is bringing this back as part of a study session to actually discuss it and then to make a proposal one way or another. What Kathy would also like to do is approve the fence so that we can actually go out to a bid and get this side done, because there doesn't seem to be any disagreement as to the need for a fence, at least on this side. I'm the mind of Mr. Gilliland. This is to help with students. We have classrooms and kids who might elope from this side. I'd rather have some sort of perimeter there where they would stay inside of our campus. I am less fearful of people from the outside or bears.
I don't disagree.
But I would
The question still
gladly.
remains.
So we can bring this back as a study session to discuss fencing along all of
Right,
those.
I agree with Dr. Taroshi. I think the fence obviously should be voted on tonight. I just think it's very healthy to have this dialogue because I'm one, along with Mr. Wong, that the residents are used to such, and I think they're more afraid of a bear than a boogeyman. And frankly, the only time the boogeyman is warranted is when we have some person shooting up a school. And so I was saying that purposely for the healthy conversation, because there are listeners and viewers here that really think we should have a surround gate because of safety. So that was my rationale to bring that question to you, Mr. Cross. And so based on Mr. Wong, his longevity, shall I say, in the community, he would know that firsthand. And I agree with Mr. Rich too, because there has been arguments. When someone comes in, I don't think a fence will stop a shooter. That's just me personally, as a president who happens to be a parent.
I would just propose to piggyback on Dr. Tarosian's proposal of bringing it back to a study session, that it's not just Brad Oaks we talk about. I mean, if we're talking about fencing for safety, for whatever reason, we need to look at it at a study session for all campuses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's only two campuses, right? Mayflower and Braddock.
What
Monroe's completely fenced.
what I propose is just doing a study of each of our campuses and a review.
Are we going to include the chief of police and a school safety expert in that review?
We had
Well, the
Yes.
chief himself may not come out, but the chief's representative.
Yes, if we are looking at this for purposes of safety, absolutely.
And we had the SRO at a meeting at Brad Oaks as well. He had kind of an interesting take on this. He felt a combination was better than a total fencing in, because it funnels people in and out more controllably than having it totally fenced in. He didn't say not to fence it totally in. His comments were it's easier for them to know where there's one point of entry and exit to take control of it.
The Monrovia Police Department has been very consistent in that position.
And new president should be consistent too, based on the viewers and the residents. I'd like to entertain a motion to move forward.
Before we do that, I just want to make sure the board is comfortable with the style of fences. That seems to be the real question, right?
Good point.
We have the prefab that sticks in the grass, or the type that is welded into the existing poles. And then the difference between the two, aesthetically, they're probably going to look very similar. Minor opinion differences on whether one looks better than the other. But the approximate cost difference between the two is going to be how much?
Well, it may shrink when we go to competitive bid. Right now, I think Brad Oaks was $23,000, and
Yes.
a preliminary estimate I got was $32,000.
So 23 for the stick in the grass one and 32 for the welding.
But the welded ones would probably have a longer lifespan than the ones that are in the ground.
Absolutely. It's heavier gauge metal.
It's not in the
It's
moisture.
not in the ground.
It's not in the ground.
But the $23,000 estimate for the ornamental, or whatever you want to call it, Is that an estimate for this fence, or is that just what, maybe I was
That was the cost of Mayflower.
Yeah.
which is twice as long, but not as many gates?
Right.
Yes.
This is 3 double gates and 1 single.
So we still don't have an estimate for that kind of fence here.
No.
All right, well, you know what, I don't have a problem authorizing you to bid out both of them, and then we can take a look at actuals versus stabs. It can't be that much more difficult for you to put out an additional bid for both styles of fence, right?
No.
How about that?
I can approve that.
Perfect.
With all due respect, this bid's gonna warrant us to be timely before the school opens?
I doubt it. That fencing material, well, maybe the prefab if it goes that route, but, actually, no. It's gonna take 2 months to go out to bid.
Because I thought that was the reason why we were making the amendment to move forward. Okay,
It will not be installed in time.
No.
okay.
I move to approve the authorization to bid out both style of fences for further review by the board to make a determination at that point in time which way we're going to go.
Second.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Now moving to technology, the addendum, the contract for the E-rate related services with CSM, Mr. Charles.
Yes, good evening, President Williams, board members, district staff, members of the community. This item is for the renewal of a 1-year contract between the district and CSM Consulting. CSM Consulting is our E-rate consultant. They assist the district in the filing of E-rate for E-rate funding, making sure things are accurate and done correctly in accordance to E-rate rules. The Board of Education is requested to approve this contract for 1 year and the amount not to exceed $23,000. Any questions?
Is there a substantial difference in the cost of this contract versus the contract that we already have with them?
Not a substantial difference, but it is a reduction. The prior year was not to exceed $25,750. This year is not to exceed $23,000.
Okay. As the same as we had discussed earlier, if we're having the same vendor for the same project, same services with just a lower dollar amount, I don't think the board needs to see that.
Oh, we need to see it, but we need to see
We
it.
can put that on a consent agenda versus having it as an action item.
For this particular one, I'll have to double check with our E-rate consultants because of E-rate rules. They might want this actively stated, but I will follow up with that.
Perfect.
Because there will be a board action
There
recorded.
will always be a board action.
Even on consent, it would still be a board action.
Right. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Ms.
Board
Huff.
Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland?
Yes.
Board President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Item J10, consider expulsion case number 1718-17, student 11111115977. Mr. Wong.
Actually, I'm going to
I
take
mean,
that.
you know my ventriloquist voice?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Mr. Rich.
Yeah, I'll take that. In regard to expulsion case number 1718-17 for the 2017-2018 school year, the Board of Education has resolved case number 1718-17, student number 111115977. There is no current action to be taken.
It's on the floor.
That's it. There's no current action. That
Any
item
comment?
has been resolved.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
We get to
Rich.
move on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wong, for my confusion. Memorandum of understanding with the community media of the foothills. Dr. Terosian.
Thank you, President Williams, members of the board. I am delighted today to be able to present to you an MOU with KGEM. I'm happy to see that we have representatives here in the audience. And this MOU will allow payment for recording and live streaming of our Board of Education meetings and any other services that we might require. So I'm happy to present this to you, and I appreciate the partnership that we've had so far.
Thank you for the excellent partnership.
Is there a reason that we only enter these for 1 year? I mean, does KGM want to visit the costs every year, or?
This is actually just a different MOU than we've had in the past. We can look at a multi-year for, as we review it next year and move forward. It'd be nice to get this one done and then do a multi-year agreement. This
Because I was getting ready to propose a move that we make it 3 year, but 1 year trial, and then we'll look at multi-year next.
Mr. Gidley, with all due respect, we do have an expert on the diocese and the likes of Mr. Rich. What's your observation?
Well, I don't know about expert, I just happen to run the business, but I agree with Dr. Terozzi. Let's move forward with this 1 year, and we can explore the future, but there is no reason to not move forward with just a 1 year today.
Then I'll move forward.
Second.
Ms. Huff.
Board Member Rich,
Yes.
Board Member Gilliland.
Yes.
Board Member Wong,
Yes.
Board President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Item 15, Board Policy 9150, Student Board Members.
I believe that's a mistake. Is this not a board bylaw, or I don't think it's a board policy. What is it?
Right again, Mr. Gillen, these are board bylaws. In a review of it, this would become a board bylaw and not a board policy. And if I may continue, this is in response to Assembly Bill number 261, which provides student board members with additional vestiges of being on the board, not only on the dais, but with the opportunity to vote, preferential voting, and the opportunity to participate in discussion. They would be considered full board members. And while here in Monrovia, our student board member has always been seated on the dais and has had the opportunity, typically they've not taken advantage of it. The board policy revisions, the board bylaw revisions reflect the requirements of the law.
And that is another reason why we had considered it as an action for those explanations that Dr. Terozzi just articulated.
Oh yeah, with the changes for sure, we would need it to be action, but did our previous bylaw delineate them as student board members or student representatives to the board? I know what we called them, but I didn't remember what it said on paper. It's a good question. We always refer to them as student representatives to the board.
No, they were always listed as student board members. Our former board policy, the amendments to the board policy, if you just take a look at that second paragraph, provides the board shall have at least one student board member.
Right, that's in black, so that's saying that that's what our previous bylaw said. Okay, because we always refer to them out here as student representatives.
And the reason I'm making a big issue of this being a bylaw is I think this is extremely important that we pass this to conform to the new state statutes. However, the new state statutes say the representative will do, shall do this, shall do that, shall do something else, shall act as a full representative, which puts them under the excused absence purview of our policy on board members. And I think we still want to be able to excuse them every week after their report, but I don't know that that's right in light of the new state law. So I would like to approve this and then come back at some point in the future with a proposed board policy that says how this board wants to implement this and how we want to use that board member.
You bring up some interesting questions, because if they are board members does that mean that they're getting a stipend?
According
Well,
to state law, no.
Actually, we spoke about this.
I need for you to rephrase the question because I heard two things. Was the question, would they receive the study packet? Oh, the stipend. There would not be a stipend. There, and the law is clear about that.
But they are entitled to mileage reimbursement.
Okay.
And, I mean, I want to point out in the past too, that our student representatives have always been encouraged to participate in discussions. Some have, as you pointed out, some have not. They've never been able to cast a preferential vote, which still, that doesn't change the vote from the 5 of these board members sitting here. It's just a symbolic vote. That's never happened before, but that's what the law now allows. But the participation has always been there by some of them, and they've had some very good perspectives, some very good comments when they've joined in. I would hope that this and the accompanying policy that we would put out there would help encourage that participation a little more.
Well, my concern is the made to will type language, and does that then impact some of our students to want to serve on the board now that they have to be, or they will be involved in participating in conversations in which they may not feel very comfortable being involved in. They may feel comfortable doing what they've done well, representing us, giving updates on what's involved in their school, what's important to them, weighing in on subjects that are important to them. But on some of our day-to-day business items, they may feel extraordinarily uncomfortable joining in or being part of some of these conversations.
I mean, my
concern is,
I didn't read that, Brian.
My concern is that the people who are truly diligent and want to be involved can be overwhelmed by what they view to be their new responsibilities.
I hear you, but the wording here says shall be allowed to participate in board discussions. It doesn't say you shall participate.
Yeah, that's how I received it.
Shall be allowed.
Which puts it in the same category.
And typically, it's an ASB student who's doing this, and they want to be involved in civics and student government and want to learn more and want to participate. So some personality wants to be part of the conversation, some don't. As long as we've always allowed it. We've always allowed it.
Exactly. I just want to make sure that although we're changing things, that we still have a clear message of what the expectations are from that representative, both at the high school and Canyon, so that the expectations are set. Because I think that it's important that if we want something different, then we need to relay things differently. You know, and it's funny because I don't ever remember calling them student board members. So, you know, I don't know when that change took place, if at all, but I mean, that name didn't come out of nowhere. So I just want to make sure that when we give them a board member title, that they clearly understand what the expectations are.
And there's always an orientation with the superintendent before that student representative. We always call them. Comes on board. The other concern I would have, those student representatives have always been emailed our agenda, not given the entire packet.
Yeah.
Now they will be allowed to have the entire packet minus the private information, the closed session information. So I would want to make sure that we are extremely diligent in making sure that documentation doesn't go into their folder that's delivered to their house. And it also makes one more trip for Danny and whoever's putting the packet together. One a week. It's one a week.
Oh, well,
Wait a minute, wait, I think we're ahead of ourselves. They're not gonna receive intelligence.
That's what, yeah.
They currently receive this board packet, open session items have always been delivered to our student board members on Friday evenings.
Both of them?
Not my daughter's was a student representative.
In the last 5 years.
Yeah, we're on the same page then.
So they're getting it, both representatives are getting it each board meeting now.
The week that they're here.
Yeah.
The week that they're
Okay.
here, they receive it. That's, therein lies the crux of the clarification.
Right, and this bylaw as written in the black writing calls them officially designated representative on the school board, and in the red calls them school board members. You see the last line in the black part?
That's been my question since the beginning.
Yeah.
When did we make the change?
So the new state law says they're board members.
Yeah, but we're contradicting ourselves.
I mean, that's my problem. A board member has connotations to what a board member's responsibilities are.
And in fact, the sentence in this new bylaw says student board members shall be recognized at board meeting as full members, shall be seated with other members of the board, and shall be allowed to participate in open sessions or discussion post question. And that's a shift in policy. And I just think that we need to develop a board policy to go along with this that really defines, do we have 2 new board members? Do we have board members that are sharing the position? How do we even look at them? Do we look at them as full board members? How are we going to let them, are we going to say, okay, how would you vote? And they say, oh, I would vote yes. And the other 5 of us say, no. I mean, that's the kind of danger we run if we don't further define how we're going to, if we don't define this relationship.
Preferential vote is the new thing. I agree with you. The bylaw is delineating what we have normally had in practice. We've always had in practice.
That's how I received it.
The students participate in the discussion, and they sit here with us on the dais. That's always been our practice, whether it's been in the bylaw or not. That's new, but the practice has always been.
Our practice has been to say, your report's done. If you have homework, go ahead and go home and don't participate.
That might have been our practice, but they have always been encouraged to stay.
Yeah, right.
And some have.
And some have. So again.
So I think with this new state law, that we need to develop the policy, that we as a board need to think about it, talk about it, have some legal opinion as to what this means. Does that mean they either have to be sitting here or be excused?
And I think
that's what state laws or the ed code says about board members.
I don't understand what a preferential vote is. If you're to take it on its face value, it means their vote is more important than my vote. That's preferential.
According to Assembly Bill number 261, a preferential vote, as used in this section, means a formal expression of opinion that is recorded in the minutes and cast before the official vote of the governing board of the school district. A preferential vote shall not serve in determining the final numerical outcome of a vote. No preferential vote shall be solicited on matters subject to closed session discussion.
Are we clear?
I would make the suggestion that we don't develop the cart before the horse. We develop the bylaw and the policy together. We get the wording together so that they work together and not against each other. Because there's still some discrepancies in this.
Are there any time requirements on this? Are we under any time crunch to state law to pass anything at this point in time, or is it something we can take back and think out a little bit better?
The state law passed in January, so we're fine.
Okay, I was going to say, why can't we just entertain this on the 8th before the kiddos get here on the 15th?
We will make sure to be in compliance with the law if our board policy has not been passed. But we will bring this back on August 8th with a policy or at least an administrative regulation accompanying it to help guide which board members are seated here and to help clarify any additional questions.
In addition, I've asked Dr. Terosian to get some guidance to that representative that's at the city. That's uncomfortable for me as a board member to have a representative of the city not knowing exactly what that representative is saying on behalf of the Monrovia Unified School District. So it is, in my opinion, that Dr. Terosian should mirror anything that comes from a student that's articulated on behalf of the school district, even if it's at the city. Because based on my experience, we need to have open dialogue, and we need to be sure of the dialogue that they're sharing openly. I don't want to use the word.
Could you use the new law? Give me some context on that. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay, the city council meetings, they have a Monrovia High School representative articulating the things that is happening in the district.
No, they're representing what's happening at Monrovia High School.
I get that, but with all due respect, Mr. Gilliland, I think that we should have an overseer of what they're saying. If they're going to be entertaining the public on what says the board rep, just like we're mirroring what we're doing here, we should mirror the same when they're speaking on behalf of the school in the city. That's my only observation.
Does this law govern student representatives at city council also? Because there are students.
It is silent on that regard.
I'm a little apprehensive about having a student representative give a report to the city council on what the board is doing.
Well, I don't think they're doing that. I think Mr. Gilliland is accurate with regards.
That's what you were asking for.
No, what troubles me, Brian, is the fact that we've got someone over at the city hall at their city meetings speaking on behalf of the school district in any capacity.
President Williams, how about if I come back with administrative regulations regarding this and provide some additional information in the study session or in an update, and we can agendize this topic as it is separate from what is currently on the agenda. And that way we can have...
I think he's asking for oversight for the student representative at city council meetings also. So I would pose the question, is it an overreach on our part, because that student is our student, to have this policy applied to their position at city council meeting?
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't say the policy per se. Let me just correct. I think I'm confusing it. I wouldn't say the policy per se, but some kind of oversight.
Well, this is the concern of this language. I mean, they're saying they're a full board member.
Hold on, Brian. We got to be on the same page.
May I bring this back as a discussion item in a future board meeting on August 8th and get some clarification about the student representative at the city council?
Student board member?
Right.
The student representative at the city council as opposed to the student board member here. Because there are two different positions.
Yeah, two different positions. And may I say something before I lose my thought? Look, guys, we sat there at a joint meeting with the city council, and we heard the city council representation articulating what we should have in our schools. I heard it. So it would behoove us to have a person over there speaking on our behalf, not knowing what they're saying. I'm very uncomfortable with the city always entertaining what we should be doing in our schools.
I am not at all uncomfortable with our high school students representing this district in any way. I am not uncomfortable with it. We've got some great students. The principal is involved with that. And if we are going to monitor what they say to the city, then I think we are showing them that we don't trust them. And I'm sorry I disagree with you, Rick Terrence.
Well,
I totally disagree.
I respect that. We're five different individuals. I just say, as my position as board president, it would behoove us to continue to let representation on behalf of the school district speak at the city council without knowing what type of dialogue they're having. Secondly, I disagree. If anybody can show me a piece of paper that articulates what Mr. McGinnis is saying to a student, I will receive that. But for my 5 years on the dais, I've never seen such.
And what I'm saying is, as
It's not
this
a
is
matter of
not an
trust.
agendized topic.
No, it
we
is,
should
but it's not a
probably
matter of
bring it
trust,
back.
it's a matter of transparency.
My recommendation simply, in terms of the representative to city council, is to bring it back when it is an agendized topic, as this agenda item does not reference that person.
Received as before.
But I will add, just from personal experience, the student representative to the board, I can speak from experience that the student representative to city council also, because that's one and the same for my kid. They're part of ASB, and there is discussion on what they will present at a board meeting and a city council meeting within ASB and with ASB leadership. Not necessarily the principal, but with ASB leadership. So
That was my understanding.
within that student government entity, they have discussion on what they're going to present as they represent Monrovia High School, Canyon Oaks, Monrovia Unified School District. There was
Which will continue to be under our umbrella, and I'll leave that. Any other comments?
Yeah, I move to table this to another meeting.
I think we're just gonna entertain Kathy's motion.
We all agree to that, or do we have to actually move and vote? We all agree. Table.
Whoa, we're gonna table what is already expected?
We're going to table because we're going to add board policy and an AR to this so that all the wording works together.
Received.
At the next meeting, correct?
Received?
Yeah.
Moving on, Karen.
Moving on. Item 16, pending board issues. I understand Dr. Terosian, we have some dialogue from Dr. Kaiser.
We do. What I'd like to note first is that we will be bringing back transportation total costs and adding that to our cycle. And because this board has been interested in legislative action and advocacy, we have an opportunity this Friday to meet with Senator Portantino, along with other school districts, and Dr. Kaiser will be representing Monrovia Unified to discuss 2 items specifically. Dr. Kaiser.
These are 2 items that are pertinent to schools, and the first one is AB 3096 that is being brought before the legislature by Assembly Person Rubio. And what this proposal is that this would take all of the numerous reporting pieces that we are required to do that take enormous amounts of time from our staff, to have a coordinated reporting system so that it's one report. So you can imagine what a relief that would be to the staff here in our district. Districts will continue to, however, to report the Williams requirements on a standalone report on their websites, and will be required to provide the URL to the CDE so the department can make the website links available via the online school accountability report card. So there's this proposal that there will be one reporting system instead of the many. Right now there are about 5 different reporting systems that are used.
Dr. Kaiser, will that require new software to make that one single reporting system?
It is my understanding that all of that technology piece will be handled at the CDE. And it'll be something that we just merely populate. So this is one piece that will be discussed with Portantino, and he's very excited to meet with district officials regarding that. The conversation is going to be facilitated by one of the Association of California School Administrators, legislative specialist whose name is Martha Alvarez. She's flying down from Sacramento to facilitate this meeting on Friday.
And as you mentioned, there are about 5 different ways of reporting right now, and they're talking about taking it to one. But the cost associated to those 5, is it going to be comparable to the one? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down?
I don't know that there's a dollar cost in the mechanics of it. Where we're going to see a savings is in time. And we have two resources in the district, that is time and money. So this is going to be a savings in regards to time.
But there is a dollar cost charged by LACO for certain types of reports and reporting systems, correct?
Yes, however, this is not one of those.
It's the LCAP, it's the School Accountability Report Card, it's the dashboard, taking all those bits and pieces, making it also simpler for our constituents, our parents, to be able to go to one place and see all of the information regarding the school district and the schools.
So the other reporting systems that have the costs attached to it are going to remain the same?
Right.
Sadly.
So that's one of the bills that we will be discussing with Senator Portantino. The other one is being proposed by Assembly Member Al Muratachi, and this is AB 2808. And what this one is the Assembly member is requesting additional funding for the LCFF, for the base grant. Right now, our base is funded at $10,291 per student, which is $1,900 less than the national average. And what this proposal is that our base would be funded at $13,000 per student. So this will be the second item of discussion with the senator and the facilitator and the group that meets with him, an increase to the base.
Comments for Dr. Kaiser?
No, but I have a comment on the pending board item issue.
Remind Mr. Portantino that we're his friends and his favorite city next to his La Cañada resident. Mr. Kinlan, you want to...
Periodically, I ask the same question, and I probably forget the answer, but the last section in the pending issues is regular policy review. Does this say we're going to review every policy in 2018-19? Every policy the district has?
I am.
And I know you weren't here when we originally put this on. The reason we originally put this on because we found there were policies that hadn't been reviewed for 15 or 20 years. Or 30. One of them was 30 years. And I know that we review every policy that's changed by an ed code change. And we every year we change those that are required. But we put this on here so that we would ensure we had a systematic review of every policy. And that seems like a little too much to go through every policy every year.
If we break it down by department.
That's the way we had it broken down, and now we're back to everything in one year. So
We were on a 3-year rotation for each department. So every year.
Got that department every year, so you can do all of it.
So I rotated every 2 years and 64 days. but this is one of those. It's like deferred maintenance. I mean, it's really easy to keep putting off, but then the problem is once you start, it is just an enormous task of time and money. So, you know, we need to stay on a schedule or put a new schedule together. Hit reset and start over.
But break it down by department over time. Don't just say review. I mean, it's not delineated there. That was your question. Is this all policies all at once, or let's break it down?
The bottom line of my question is, how are we ensuring that every policy is reviewed on a regular basis?
That is a problem that we have had. We have kept up with new laws. We have updated some policies, you've approved a few. Today is a singular example of a policy that's being updated as a result of a law. We could use a little better system in ensuring the updates, and we'll come up with a schedule that doesn't overwhelm our staff, because the reason we have fallen behind is because we have not been able to get to everything.
And that's the critical thing, and we found ourselves, at one point, we had policy that hadn't been reviewed for 30 years, and really didn't apply to where we were at as a district, yeah. So, yeah, onion paper. So if we could, and maybe it's 5 years, it's 3 years, I don't know, it's a big job.
That's
And
pretty
we don't
good,
want to do every policy every year for sure. But if you could come back with some recommendations.
We'll come back with a recommendation.
Ms. Rich? Item JK, old business, which consists of our regular scheduled board meetings, August the 8th and 22nd. Also include September 12th and the 26th. New business is new employee breakfast on Monday, August the 6th. All staff in service Tuesday the 14th of August. And of course the first day of school on Wednesday, August 15th. Without any other comments, I'd like to adjourn this regular Board of Education session at 9:09. Are the cameras off?
Oh, somebody's in trouble.